Try that.
Oh, new address, new address. So it's not LGY, it's actually Paul, E-V, POLLEV.com/London Games. Try this one, try this one. Or text London Gamers to this ridiculously long number here. 020362578923326.
Is that your own?
Does that work? Yay! It works! Technology works. Wonderful. We've not had problems with tech at all today. It's been great. Okay, and so throughout the event, we're going to be asking you questions. We're going to get you to get involved. We're going to be passing the microphone to you, and letting you answer questions as well. So first of all, we're going to ask you, just to test this is working. How did you get here today? How did you get here today? How did you get here? Oh! Wow. Whoa, tube's going, it's crazy. Oh my god, amazing. Tube is train. You're on the overground, so get over it. Overground is the tube. Uber, very fancy. You get an Uber. You didn't know one.
You didn't know.
Judgmental is the same song.
Yeah, great, it works, lovely. Another test. How are you feeling today? Tell us. How are you feeling? Green faces. Oh no!
Charles.
Happy? Charles, is that you? You want to get your clothes? You should feel great. Give us a twirl. Okay, great, it works. Lovely, fantastic.
Question.
Yes.
Are people who are texting meant to answer that question?
That's a good question. You can just show us. You can just exclaim in the room how happy you are today.
What about people who don't have that emotional ability?
Then speak. I should hope that is not the case. And one more question. How pumped are you right now? How are you feeling? You feeling this pumped? You feeling pumped? Are you feeling bored? Do you want me to just get on with it? Okay, I'll get on with it. Okay, great. So the tech works. Lovely. So yeah, throughout the town hall, we'll pop up and have questions and let you get involved and give your thoughts. Is that it? Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. So we're going to start about 2 years ago, when we were a much smaller organisation. We had about 150 members on Facebook. It's pretty good, 150 people. The group was secret, so you had to be invited to get in, although you couldn't join. You can join. It's exclusive. We mainly use Reddit to organise stuff. We put on about one event a month, roughly. And the issue with that was, no one knew who we were, no one could find us. We had all these people come to us and say, wow, this group's fantastic, this is great, these people are wonderful, I wish I knew about you a year ago, I wish I knew you existed. And it was right, we didn't have any visibility, no one knew we existed. And people were being left out, people were being left out, people who wanted to find us, couldn't find us, didn't have the opportunity to do so. So we made a conscious decision to change things. About 24 months ago, we made a conscious decision to change things, and we established a very simple mantra for the group, which was, ensure people who need to find us can find us. And we did a lot of work to make that happen. Facebook group becomes a closed group rather than a secret group. This allows all the messages inside it to be private, but the group can be searchable, so great, people can find us by looking for us. We started some new very important social channels. We're now on Twitter, London Gaymers. Instagram, London Gaymers. We added a Discord server to help people play games together and chat. Charles hasn't clocked yet, he's just staring at the other screen. That was our just screenshot from a few days ago. And I'm wondering if Cheeks has noticed that yet. Noticed it. We did our best to make sure we were listed on community websites, Stonewall, GMFA, and some other groups, for example. And word of mouth, thank you. It's really important that you guys tell people that we exist and invite them along, because that's where a lot of our growth comes from as well. And because of those changes, over the last 18 months, we've had a massive period of growth. 150 people on Facebook went to nearly 2,000 now, which is great. We did about 12 events a year. We now do over 100 events a year. 100 events a year. We now run online gaming tournaments and streams people can get involved with. This is where Lenny and Hamish were playing Splatoon recently. We opened online communities for people who wanted to play games like Guild Wars, Dungeons and Dragons, and World of Warcraft. Really big online gaming communities that people play every day together. So really massive changes. And we're continuing to maintain those channels, post regular content, meaningful and original content where possible, and continue to look for new ways to help people find out we exist. So we kind of feel like we're doing a pretty good job of that. We feel like mission accomplished, we've achieved that help people who need to find us can find us goal. So what next? What do we do now? What does that mean for the future? If we've achieved those goals and they're maintaining themselves and they're doing well, what are we going to do going forwards? So we have some new goals for the next 18 months. The first one is double down our efforts on diversity. We know from just being aware of it consciously, we know from the Gamer survey and from things people told us that we're not doing enough here. And we completely agree. We've always made an effort, but we're not making enough of an effort. So we're doubling down our efforts on diversity. And we'll get some information about that through the Gamer survey later and through some updates from our diversity team. Second goal, expand our reach to connect with the wider LGBT and gaming communities. These communities are really important and we should be involved with them. So we're going to make sure we continue to do that in as many meaningful ways as possible. Again, we'll go into this later. And the next third goal is more events, more involvement, and probably a bit less of us. There's been 4 people basically running most of this group, and that's not the way we want to do things. We want everyone to be involved as much as they want to be involved. If you want, you can be a lurker, you can just come to events, you can join in, that's absolutely fine. But we also think a lot of people want to be involved in this community because they really love it and they enjoy it. So we want to make sure that there's more events, more involvement, and a little bit less of our faces. Which, let's be honest, that's not a bad thing. And one other thing we've done as an exercise is we've had to define our values. Anyone who's been part of LG will recognise we've had values. And it feels like a very corporate thing to do, but actually I think it's really important to make sure that we define what it is we believe in and how we behave. And I think people will recognise these behaviours, but we just want to put them down into words to summarise what we stand for and why we do it in the first place, which we think is really important. So our first value is inclusion for everybody. You're always welcome at London Gamers. You should always feel welcome. You should always feel like you are welcome to join in. Regardless of any location constraints. We're in London, but it doesn't matter. Regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of sexuality, you should always feel like you can join in. That's what inclusion for everybody is about. It's why we put on a massive range of events to try and cater for all needs and as many tastes as possible. Even if you don't live in London, we know we have lots of friends who visit us from outside of London who want to get involved. We try and make sure we accommodate that as much as we possibly can. It's why we always strive to keep events free or as cheap as physically possible. We don't want to beg for money. We've never done that and we will not start to do that. We've never ticketed an event and made profit from it. The bar today we're running basically at cost because it's not about making a bit off the top to help the group. It's actually about making sure you feel like you can even come here in the first place because you can afford to. We know London's expensive. We know everyone's got a lot of other costs. So we always want to make sure things are as cheap or free as physically possible. And that's something we really strongly believe in. It's even down to the reason we have a Warcraft guild that runs an open raid night every Wednesday that everyone can come to regardless of skill or experience. You know, all these decisions affect every single decision we make going down. So that's inclusion for everybody. Second value. Better together. And this is something you've heard us say again and again and again. This isn't our group, this is your group. And again, we're going to talk to that a bit later about how we prove that. And we really want to deliver on this because we are stronger when we work together and we share our skills. It's why we're encouraging people to run their own events, provide spaces for online gaming guilds. It's why we've started the LG Ambassador Program to allow you all to have more ownership of the group, to contribute. As we know, so many of you asked to do that. This is a really good space to do that, a really good sharing space to do that. And it's why we're committing to doing this, the London Gaymers Town Halls, you know, so that it's not about what we decided to do, and it's like, actually, I quite fancy going here. If the gamers want to come, then that's great. But actually, that's not what it's about. It's about making sure that we get input from you guys. So we're going to commit to regular town halls. We're not sure what that schedule is yet. Maybe we'll discuss that with you guys. But regular town halls, so we can do this often. And that's better together. Third value. Got 2 more. I promise I won't take too long. For the community. So this is about being not just for us as a community, but also being for the wider gaming community and the wider LGBT community. You know, we don't operate in a bubble. We are a community of LGBT gamers. There are other communities out there that we should get involved with because it's the right thing to do. It's why we make sure we show our pride at London Pride every year. It's why, great Misty cosplay there, Sam. Can you do that for us again right now? It's why we went to MCM Expo in October. They asked us to come and do a piece on diversity in gaming, and we built up such a long relationship with those guys, and we finally got to do such a fantastic panel. It wasn't without its flaws because we were cut short, but it was fantastic, and they want us to come back. Fantastic. It's why we attended LGBT youth events in Southwark recently, to be part of that gaming community as well. You know, I know if I had a community like that when I was sort of 15, it would just be amazing to know that that existed. It's why we raised money for charity special effects last year with help from Xbox. Again, it's about connecting with the other communities that involve us and not kind of just being isolated in this bubble where we only exist on our own. We realise how important these communities are, and if we think we can help these communities that we're a part of, we should always do so. So that is for the community. And finally, this one's a little bit mushy, a little bit personal. This one is part of the family. And this one is why people join London Gamers in the first place and stay part of that family for years to come. This is the value you guys are doing every single day at meetups, on Discord, on Facebook, where you can not only share the activities you love, but make amazing new experiences and friends and memories as well. It's why we have a family of people who get together as often as possible. A family who look out for each other and look after each other. I saw a conversation on Discord about a few days ago, and someone was asking for support about an issue they were having, and the just completely selfless support for that person was really touching, and it's amazing we have a community of people who can do that. And I think that's an amazing place to be a part of, and I think that's really, really valuable for us as a community. Oh God, what have I done? No, that's fine. It's why people travel from all parts of the UK and beyond to come and see us. They do travel large distances. We have friends who visit us from Brighton, from Manchester, from Birmingham, from Wales, all the way up to Scotland and even overseas. And that's incredible that people want to be part of this family. It's about finding people. It's about finding people like you. Kindred spirits who share your passion. And making sure we always respect and care about each other. And that's why we're committed to doing everything we can to maintain that space where everyone feels welcome and comfortable. And we think that's a really important value too. Friendships for life. It's fantastic. I mean, yeah. So we think that's really important. So that's part of the family. So those are our 4 values. That's a brief introduction to what we're doing today and why we're doing it. They're 4 really important values. We think we'll continue to focus our efforts every time we make a decision. We think, does it fit with our values? And if it does, then we should go for it. And we really hope these resonate with you too. So with that, I'm going to pass you on to Raphael for an update on events.
That's good. Alright, so first warning, I'm hungover, so it's a surprise. No one expected it, but here we are. So my name is, for those of you that don't know, I think everyone here knows me. My name is Raphael. I've been in admin now for a year and a half or something like that. And I think naturally, my role has always come down this kind of social / event space where I'm good at putting stuff together like this, I guess. So I've been tasked with kind of looking after events and networking going forward. So I'm just going to share with you a few thoughts of like what's happened before. I'm going to go through my ideas for what's happening next time, and the real bit that I want to get to is I want to ask you questions about your experience at events and what you'd like to see going forward. So Curtis said it earlier, and I firmly believe this, and that's why you see me kind of always kind of, well, I was being low-key, I'm never low-key, but in terms of like this group anyway, my involvement, I never play the admin flag, sort of, and I'm one of the group. Anyway, it's something, what's that? Admin abuse, oh wow. It's something that I believe in, so this is not our group, it's not the admin's group, we don't decide the fate of this group, it's not about us, right? It's about everyone, it's your group, so you decide what happens, and this is kind of the ethos I want to take forward with this bit. From the start, like our mission was always to try to attract as many people as possible, right? It was a numbers game. We wanted to attract as many gamers as possible. We wanted to make sure that if you're a gamer in London, you knew about us, you had somewhere to be yourself. That was always the mission. This is great. This meant like our events were different times, different dates, different venues. Some of them were purely mine were purely drinking. Some of them were online, some of them were offline, some of them were archery events. You know, we try to change it up as much as possible so people had somewhere to go to. And that was kind of coming from us. The problem with it, whilst it's been good so far, the problem is that for a big chunk of them, this is me thinking.
Oh, was that you?
That's me, yeah. I know. Who else would put their face on their presentation, but yeah. For a big chunk of the events, there were our ideas. We'd sit around and we'd plan it. We'd be like, this looks good. Let's do this. And a big chunk of it came from us. Now, I guess you guys loved it. Our members have grown, and it seems like people are like fans of the events. That's what I meant. However, this shouldn't be the case. It's not, like I said, it's not our group. We shouldn't decide what events happen. It's your group. So that's kind of the space I'd like to explore now. Missed that bit. So yeah, it was admin-led before. What we'd like to see, and again, Justin's going to touch on it later, is we'd love for it to be more ambassador-led. You're led. What do you guys want to do, right? And every now and then, obviously, I would have an event that I want to do. I mean, prime example, the Pokemon pub quiz. We had so many people. It sold out in like in 30 minutes. Sold out, it's free, but sold out in 30 minutes. I don't know shit about Pokemon past Gen 1. Like, honestly, I know nothing about it. There's no reason why I should be leading on that, I guess. Does that make sense? I know it's a great event, and obviously we sold it out twice now, but it'd be great for someone that loves Pokemon to take that on as their thing, or whatever else Pokemon related. However, for now, I'm stepping in to do it, but going forward, that's kind of more what I'd like to see. I think, well, what happened naturally is I'd love to see, instead of kind of catering big events that target everyone, I'd love to see more bespoke events. That's more smaller communities, smaller groups of interest, but we have more along the calendar. A really good example of this is the Wild Pub Quiz that Curtis and I hosted a few months back. And in this one, we had people flying from Sweden, Denmark, anyway, we had people coming from all over to come to it. And it was only about less than 30 people. But for those people, they never in a million years thought they'd go to a gay WoW pub quiz, right? It's just like, it doesn't happen. We even had some really cool category names. But this is kind of the approach I'd like to see going forward. I'd love to see more unique events, right? Like, let's explore nerdiness, let's go even further with it, instead of it being just like, let's have a, Mario Kart and drinks night. Like, I love Mario Kart and I love drinking, so that's fine. But I think we can take it further. We can take this group further like this. So it's more events, more niche. So, right, we're getting down to it. If you'd like to run an event, this is my proposition going forward. We'd love to support you. Obviously, it'll be your event, so you can run it as any way you'd like. However, we're here to offer support. The first thing we could do is obviously any event you do, small or large, it could be for 5 people or 500, it will be branded under this lovely, doesn't that look amazing? Like a wall of events. We took this decision to kind of have the same kind of heading and logo and branding for all of our events to show that.
That's about 2 months worth of events.
Yeah, that's about 2 months. And the Pokemon one could be twice. So we took this decision because like no matter how small the event, so the Pokemon Pub Quiz is only 28 people and Weddy Friday is God knows how many. And loading is 100 and whatever. But like no matter how big or how small, it'll be part of our chain of events and it'll be branded as such and we'll be supported in that way by us. Curtis can tweet about it. We'll make sure it gets where it needs to be. We are creating a Discord channel for events, so it will be a channel to talk about all the upcoming events. If you want to create an event, if you want to run an event, obviously you have access to that. And again, it's kind of creating that ownership where you can really kind of contribute it to any way you want. I was at odds with this one, but we decided. So what is mine? So like as it is business credits' idea. So what is my job? I guess what I'd love to see myself doing is more of a. We use this because it's more of a conductor of the event. So I help you guys to gas to them. That's kind of a Mexican Mario conductor thingy. I hate the fact that it's so adorable because like I don't want to like it, but I do. So my job is really like helping you guys sort out like planning. I can help you find venues. I can help you do all that kind of stuff. But really, the event will be owned by you. So you'll be on site. You'll be running it whichever way you want. And that's kind of the approach we'd like to take. Is like we don't want to tell you guys what to do. It's up to you really. Yeah. Okay. First of all, I look better in mine when I did the hand on the chin thing. But so it's question time. So this is really honestly what it's about. So this is our chance to kind of ask you guys questions about your experiences at events and what you'd like to see going forward. The first question I have is like, the proposal that I made of events being a bit more nicher, smaller and nicher, but more of them throughout the year. Do you think that's a good idea, a bad idea? Do you see it working?
If you put your hand up, if you've got a
Yeah.
like,
You
Chris
have
will
to-
bring the microphone to you.
You have to speak into the microphone for the streamers. Where are the streamers? Where's the camera?
Camera's pointing at you.
Someone mute one? Yeah, speak into the microphone, please.
Nobody. All right, raise of hands. Who thinks it's a good idea to do more small, lots of like? Yeah.
But why? But why? Tell me why. Why is it a good idea?
Go on, I will start because no one else will say anything.
Oh,
no,
you've been beaten.
I think, personally with my experience, one of the key things when I was actually joining the group about a year ago was, okay, I'm going to join this gamers group, but are people going to like, what I'm interested in as well? And, even recently we had the Fighters game event, ages ago I wouldn't even have thought, people would like Fighters games, I joined thinking, oh, everyone likes, World of Warcraft, everyone likes Guild Wars, Minecraft, blah, blah. So I think, it's sort of nice to appeal to a certain demographic that, so people, when they turn around and they see the event, they're like, oh, okay, there are other people that are going to be there that actually like, what I like and, play games that I play. So, I mean, I think, people may turn around and say, oh, what about people that, aren't necessarily, into whatever demographic you're actually appealing for. But I think this just falls down under the inclusion thing because, before the event, people may not even think that, they really have a place in it because they, they didn't even know that other gamers are there that like similar games. So, yeah, I think, smaller events that are maybe a bit more niche, a lot more specific maybe, would actually be a good thing, so, yeah.
Great, thank you, Nathan.
I also want to add the fact that when you join the group, you think that it's all just going to be about gaming, but we all have other interests that aren't gaming as well. And I do like the fact that
Ignore that random noise.
I do like the fact.
It's all in your head. Yeah.
No one else can hear it.
No one else can hear it. Just continue.
I do like the fact that, being part of the group for about 2 months, and there's already been like book club, there's been like things that aren't just gaming, so people can get involved in other things as well. It's not just video games all the time, like we have one hobby, one interest.
Yeah.
You can sort of find people who are into other things as well. So I think having niche events is good for that.
Yeah, and also like step into like, for example, like we went to anime, we saw Sword Art Online and everything in the UK. Like that's I mean it's kind of gaming, I guess, the anime, but the idea was we have other interests overlap as well. So yeah, definitely.
Hey, I feel like sometimes some events are super crowded, super overextended in their capacity. Have you ever thought about ticketing an event in that sense. Like Loading, for example, it gets so crowded, sometimes it's off-putting for certain people, new gamers especially. Have you ever thought about putting a cap on how many people
Yeah,
come, or?
so the only time we used quote unquote tickets, like, we've never sold any ticket unless we have to.
I mean free tickets.
Yeah. Free the only time we ever did it was we do it at the King's Arms because that space is tiny, and we know that seating wise we only sit up to 30. For Loading, what happened historically is that we had people that said sometimes they just want to come over at about 4 or 5 p.m., have a beer, play a board game, and leave. So, which is why the day goes on forever. It's a hard thing to do because some loadings are super busy. I mean, it's like Wellington Friday. I think it's a better example where sometimes you can't even walk. I mean, some of you guys would know it's literally bonkers. And sometimes there's enough space, so I think it's one of those things we have to consider. Like, we have to anticipate space. So I think when we get to loading, I think it's a discussion we need to have of like frequency of it. So right now it's every 6 weeks, so we do it more frequently, so it's less numbers. You know, we can discuss all sorts of things. But it's definitely an option we're looking at because I agree. Sometimes if you can't walk, for me, I can get to the bar, so it's like it's a big.
So that's all we care about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Anybody else? You say no,
Yeah.
just in front. Hang on, Granny. Sorry. No, wait your way to the front now. Sorry.
Go on.
I think it's really important to have this.
A bit closer.
It's really important to have this
Bit
bottom
closer.
up.
You put it in your mouth.
Because I just love the idea of people doing small events so that they can share their passion for their games or their whatever geek culture, and also have a mix so that people who aren't quite so outgoing and socially adept, because we may be queer but also geeks, they have a place where they can feel like they can just get on and not know people. And what I really liked is that my first event, a few of us said, if we don't know anybody else, we'll just talk to each other for the first half an hour, and then we'll get to know people. So any variety and diversity is brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think it's brilliant. I think we should definitely be going down the route of more niche events. I will speak up for, I think, probably some of the people who couldn't be here today because they are spread all over the country, and say they would probably appreciate it if we are putting on these niche events that we try to make sure we coordinate a little bit around times so that they can come down, for example, for a whole weekend, make a weekend of it, because I know that there are people who would love to come to more stuff, but just feel sometimes that because they're a little bit further away that they have to pick and choose a lot more between what they attend. It's a brilliant idea.
Thank you, Shins.
Just for a quick one, I'm going to just interject with a Twitch question, which actually kind of follows on quite nicely from what you said just then, Shades. All right, Matt. So this was from Nipotropolis on Twitch. I should stand up, so probably looking. No, the camera's over there, never mind. They asked, I think some people outside of London can feel quite isolated. Do you think there will be a small number of events happening in other parts of the UK to give the community a larger reach? We are called London Gamers because we are based in London, and that's partly just the capacity of what we have to offer. None of the sort of admin team live outside of London, but I'm sure lots of the ambassador team probably could live outside of London. And that's definitely something that could be a possibility. We will always be very London focused because of that. But saying that, as Matt just said, we often try and coincide certain events. So we might have a Welly Friday, a Loading Saturday, and a board game Sunday all in one weekend. People do have to travel. Try and crunch some of those together and make a big weekend out of it if you have to travel. So we'll continue to try and do that. And I would say never, but it's not immediately on the cards right now to start doing Birmingham Gamers, for example.
I was going to say the other thing as well, like with book club that we're starting as well. Like, I mean, we haven't got it yet, but because we've got like really good techie people who can do like clever streaming online stuff. Like, we're already thinking like, look, we're doing a book club discussion. That doesn't mean, there's no reason why that can't be partly online as well. We can make that work. If you read a book up in Birmingham, there should be a way for us to get you to take part in that discussion afterwards. We shouldn't really have to live in London for that stuff. So I think we can get better with the online stuff too. That can help with some of that kind of synergy between the online and offline stuff, I think.
Does somebody else have a question?
Yeah, I think so.
Charles,
Just-
wait, far away.
Well, Charles gets the microphone. I think one thing to notice though is that we do have a relationship, for example, with Scottish Gamers. We've done some tournament events with them. There's other gamer groups in the UK that we're trying to build relationships with, so we definitely don't want to step over toes. However, there are kind of vacuums that there's no reason why maybe we can explore it. And I'm not going to lie, my second question is, as our membership widens, what are your thoughts about online events for those who can't attend London-based events? That is actually, yeah, so thanks for answering the question.
So kind of leading on to what Robert said, because when I first came to this group, I was petrified because I knew no one. I was just saying about like a niche event. Was it like a niche event for newcomers, kind of thing, like a newbie night or whatever?
Yeah, so I think for me, there's like two schools of thoughts for me anyway. This is me personally. I haven't discussed it with the guys yet, but I think for me, like if I was a shy person, which I'm not, if I was a shy person, I think so. I played World of Warcraft for about 10 years of my life. I think I'd feel more comfortable going to a WoW pub quiz with gay people than I would going to a newbie night with people that might play, God knows, Splatoon or something. And for me, so I think it's maybe we can explore options to do it for every event, right? So there's no reason, for example, we're gonna have like some kind of indicator. If you're new, there's people with this particular name badge or something that you can talk to, and they're happy to introduce you to the group. I think a newbie night kind of it would be good as an introduction. However, there's no reason why we can't integrate that into every event we do, to be conscious of the fact that there's new members here tonight, I think. So it's just, yeah.
Surely, like ambassadors could then kind of host that kind of night. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there is definitely plans to get ambassadors more involved with helping us reach those newbies as well, because it can be intimidating. And also just manpower. We just need more people to be involved, I think, in those events. We absolutely can't, we stopped doing tournaments at Loading. We loved doing them, but it took about 2 people's entire evening and day up to just try and run a Smash Brothers tournament. And then we were neglecting new people, we were neglecting other people. It was good to get them involved, but we were neglecting those people because we couldn't be there for them because we were so busy running a tournament. Now, with the Ambassador Network, hopefully we'll be able to use a lot more of that to, one, help solve some of those problems, and 2, we're looking into lots of ways of getting newbies more, just helping induct them, I think, a little bit better. And maybe that is a newbie night, maybe that's a newbie station at Loading, maybe that's a lanyard for people who are going to be ambassadors that can say, like, I'm here to help. And lots of things like that, and we definitely want to do that, and we think it's really important because we know that it's somewhere we're a little bit weak at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you. So there's
Sorry, I got one more Twitch.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, Twitch, wow, you're crazy. Okay, loads of Twitch questions. Oh, God. I'll try and whiz through a few of these. So, oh my goodness. Gong Yin Tan Pai says, a question of the branding of events. If an event goes badly or issues arise for whatever reason, are you worried that opening up events to be run by perhaps less experienced people should reflect badly on LG? Yeah, absolutely, that could happen. But we think that we know our community pretty well. We think everyone's here to have a great time. We think everyone's here to really enjoy being part of the group. We don't think anyone wants to do anything malicious. Saying that, some people are less experienced, and we'll definitely help guide people as much as we possibly can through events. If someone said, look, I want to do a bi-monthly, Pokken tournament, meetup, whatever it is, they're not very experienced, we will definitely help them as much as possible for those first few events until they're comfortable enough to do it on their own. It's not a case of, okay, here's your event now, off you go, and just letting them free. It's about helping to nurture those people. So we'll definitely do that as well. Another question from Adamski. Do you hope to march on London Pride every year, if possible? And we're branching out, still beyond the cards. Previous years have London Gamers attended Brighton Pride. Yeah, Pride's happening, we'll speak about that later. And yes, other Prides are definitely potential as well. Again, we'll cover some of that later. One more question from Kyle AAA. I think it's just Kyle Ren, right? Could there be a person group in charge of buddying up with newbies to make sure they get involved and don't get intimidated? I think we started to touch on some of that. 8-Bit Bear, I'm very curious on the strategy on making LG more attractive to a wider audience. I mean, I'm sat here looking at a room of handsome gentlemen. What would be the plan in trying to attract a more diverse membership? Again, loads of plans for that later. So what I'm going to do is skim through some of these questions because they might get covered later, and just let Raf move into the next spot.
Yeah. So there's one last question I wanted to ask, and this is kind of going to the particulars now. So I'm just going to read it. How can we improve? So at the moment, events, we create an event. If it's a major flagship event like Loading, we invite all of you. If it's something like a Pokemon Book Quiz, I don't invite any of you, and I hope you see it on Facebook. How can we improve that? How can we improve invitations? How do we want to be invited to events going forward? On top of that, how do we feel about the current state of like event notifications full stop? Like, is it too spammy? Is it not spammy enough? What other ways can we reach you? You know, and that's the kind of question.
And just to that, I recorded a video to show what the process is to invite people on Facebook to an event, and then my phone ran out of space as I was doing it, so that just explains how long it takes to invite everybody to an event on Facebook. Essentially, what we go to at the moment is, if it's a flagship event, town hall, Loading, or something similar, that's a very, very big event that's not so niche, we will make an effort to invite every single person on the Facebook group. Facebook doesn't like you doing that at all. It actually directly tries to stop you from doing that. It won't let you invite more than 250 or 300 people per account. It won't let you invite all. You have to manually tap every single person, invite them, and then half the time it doesn't do it anyway, so you have to do it again. And it's a pain. It's a massive pain. If it's a pain, but everyone wants it, we'll do it. That's not a problem. But it's actively trying to discourage us from doing it. So we're just kind of aware. Again, to add on to Raf's question, we're trying to look at ways that we can help you find out about events. One of the ways of doing that is we're going to have an events channel on Discord that Raf mentioned that will have all the events listed in it, and another place to find out about events. We will be introducing a new website, probably not for a little while, because we just haven't got capacity to do it yet, but it will be this year. And obviously, there's other ways we're trying to remind people about events. But without manually emailing everybody to tell them there's events on, it's a little bit difficult. Those things we're not doing very well. We have a calendar you can subscribe to, and it will populate your Google Calendar or your Apple Calendar with all our events. Hardly anyone knows we do that, but we do it. So how can you guys know that happens? But any other suggestions you guys have got about how we can better do events and better invite people to events and make sure they know they're happening, we absolutely want to make sure we do it. So we can do that. Chris, have you got?
Yeah, it's pretty much like no matter how many times we spam anything, someone will show up saying, "Oh, I didn't know about this," or someone will send a message like, "Wait, we notified you Discord, Twitter, Facebook." So it's like, how do we avoid that? I guess is the ultimate question. Sorry, go on.
So I'm like an old-fashioned kind of gal. So I like emails and things. So like I'm not saying like an email every week or for every event, but I plan my week on like a Sunday evening, for example. So if there's like a MailChimp email went out on a Sunday evening that listed the next 2 weeks worth of events, I find that really useful because then I can at least put it manually into my own calendar, and it kind of doesn't rely on social media. Like I know a lot of community-based groups rely on social media because it's free and cheap. But you can use things like MailChimp, which has like 2,000 free emails you can send a month before it starts charging you, and with multiple accounts you can get around that. But for me, something like that, and it's slightly, and you can put videos in it and just make the content slightly more engaging. Sorry, I'm speaking to the mic like half that.
Anyway, yeah, we started to do a newsletter, and we did about 2, and then we just ran out of capacity. Again, capacity issue, which is something we're helping to resolve with our ambassadors, bringing that network of people in and helping us to do these things. Absolutely, yeah, we should be doing that. We should have a, maybe it's a once a month newsletter that just tells you about what's coming up in the next 2 weeks. Easy as that, and you know what's coming up within the next month, so you can plan ahead. Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring that back. Thank you.
Jackie won't get it because he has about 1 million on the red emails.
No, I was going to say, is there any way of having it where, you can sign up, just have like the bot notify you, oh, there's a new event you put on, and it just sends you a PM that's just like new event up.
On Discord, you mean?
Yeah, on Discord. I mean, obviously it's Discord only.
So yeah, and that's about a fourth of our membership is that, I think.
I would say anything bot related, just hang on. Just hang
on.
Yeah,
just hang on.
Just hang on a second, yeah, about an hour. That's a good idea. Again, it's being creative with how we notify people. Again, that's voluntary. You sign up, a bit like the newsletter. I'm assuming people sign up to it. It's people that want to be sent that stuff, right? So these are all avenues we're exploring. Definitely. Any other ideas up the back?
I'm assuming like everyone here has a smartphone, especially in this day and age, is a common. I know the app Meetup is one that a lot of people use as well, and I guess it would help as well in sort of increasing numbers for LG. because the way it works is you sort of set up the group, and then the people that are in the group will get notified when there's a new event added or an event coming up, and then you can say, if you're going or anything. But I mean, I guess that I don't know if that could be an option as well, just because it would notify you through your phone, which everyone uses at some point in the day. You just get a notification, it's like, oh, okay, it's an event. If I want to look at it, you can just tap it. If not, then just leave it and let it go. But I think just because a lot of us would have our phones on us 80% of the time, 90% of the time, it's sort of just easier to actually access, and instead of like Discord where everyone doesn't always use it.
That is a really good idea. We've been looking into solutions like that. Everything we find at the moment is just far too expensive for us to afford. But we'll keep looking into ways we can do that. If we can push it to you, it's so much better. We're conscious that we try not to use everybody on Discord too much. Everyone's like, notifications, it's gross. But we will look. We looked into things like that. So anything like that at the moment we found is just far too much for us to afford. As lovely as it would be.
And a quick spot question.
Spot question.
Yeah. If you have the option, we invited everybody to everything. Sorry, but we invited everybody to everything, so all 2,000 members to every single event, so you got notified by every single thing. Who would like that? Who? Okay.
Really? Even if you don't.
And who would find it annoying? Okay. Is that about 50-50? About 50-50? Okay.
It's about 60-40.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really useful.
There was a couple, I think.
Any more? Or are we good?
Yeah, of course.
I was just going to say, going on what Nathan said, was like, it would probably be too expensive, like you said, but I was going to say something like a London Gaymers app kind of thing.
Yeah,
that had like,
just a cost
it
would be
like
fantastic. We'll
and
look into if we can make it happen. At the moment, just a bit too pricey.
Yeah.
But it's always an option, and if we can find a way of making it work.
I'm sure some people in the group have worked on mobile apps and stuff, like they might be willing to.
Yeah, we've got some great people, part of the ambassador channel, who can help
Yeah.
as well.
Call out, if we make apps, call out me.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're okay to move on. Is everyone?
Yeah, is there any final questions?
Should I double check Twitch? I don't want to upset anybody on Twitch.
I think a lot of Twitch is talking about app.
Yeah, everyone just said app, so okay.
Alright. So it's enough. This next bit is much shorter, it's much sweeter, it's much smaller, so it's not too much longer, I promise. The group, our motto 100% from the beginning was always we wanted to be self-sufficient. We could run events wherever we needed to. It's why we reached out to free venues. Every venue you see us at is either free or pretty much free, actually. We build relationships with pubs everywhere. I'm going to get to that. But really, none of this is possible without some sort of relationships. And this is what we're calling like networking outside of LG. So in terms of venues, obviously we have made some friends in places like King's Arms, Loading Bar, obviously the Welly, ustwo today, thank you. But also with other organizations. So Comic-Con, MTM, Comic-Con love us. We're doing something FYI coming later this year. Xbox UK, we did that event last year, which was amazing. And this is fantastic. And these are relationships that we've built and we love. However, they tended to come from a passive space. Like they approached us saying like, hey, we're running this event, it'd be great to run it with you. We've never taken the initiative to take what we have, bottle it up, and kind of, I hate the word, but sell it to someone as a potential partnership or whatever. And this is kind of what we're exploring with this little section here. What we'd like to do is we'd love to tap into video game companies. And I say video game companies in the full spectrum of things. We'd love to tap into video game companies all over the greater London / UK, stretching a bit, area. We think these are important because they kind of, for us, they send a message to our gamers membership that the games that they play, the people that make them support them, and they know that they exist and they support them as a community. A great example of this is we're doing the Wild Pub Quiz / Guild meetup later in March. I reached out to Blizzard's community team, and they're sending us free prizes for, I think they're sending us free stuff for everybody, I think. And I think it's going to come with a message from their CEO of Europe of how cool he thinks the group is. So, I mean, it could be as simple as that. It could be just a retweet. You know, it's all kinds of things that we could do to kind of reach out to these companies that make the games we play. But it's not just companies. I mean, it's charities. Like as we were talking about earlier, we've raised money for some charities before. We'd love to reach, like for example, there's no reason why we can't run a video game night for a youth charity to talk about a youth LGBT charity to help them kind of bridge that gap. So we're keeping the Phoenix Lightning. That's Phoenix Light, sorry. Curtis actually made this in about 45 seconds, which is quite impressive. So yeah, so I told you this one was short. That's what we've done. So we haven't done much before, to be completely honest with you. We've done some stuff as you've seen. The question is, the first question is, what more type of partnerships and relationships do you want to see of us, like going forward? Who should we reach out to? And probably more importantly, who shouldn't we reach out to? This question.
So I used to be an admin for Switch London, formerly DS London, and they used to have a really good partnership with James Patrick Bowden, Mr. Top Hat as they call him, for Nintendo community. He's the Nintendo community rep. He's really lovely, and you message him and say you want to do this tournament or this launch event. He'll send you prizes, he'll send you eShop vouchers, he'll send you all kinds of stuff. So like we got amiibos from him, we got like £20 eShop vouchers. So I would say it's worth reaching out to him. I know a lot of the other communities as well, so Nintendo Social Group and Street Bus London, they get invited to Windsor. So when they have a game about to come out, I think it's like a week beforehand, they invite like some of the admins or some of the ambassadors from the groups, and they go to Windsor and they get to play the game beforehand and get to invite some of their members as well. So I think it's definitely worth reaching out to him. And I can always help with that if you need, because I'm actually posting on Facebook and things.
So
if you need any help, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Please, thank you.
Definitely, yeah. So I think the second question I have here is kind of linked to it. I said one thing that we have been keen on, I hope you got the message earlier, is we're always keen on maintaining our independence. Obviously, this group is for you guys. We want to make sure that the interest is always for you guys. How do we ensure that considering sponsorships / partnerships going forward, and maybe what should we stay clear of? I think it's a good.
Well, I was going to say something, but it was attached to the first question.
Go for the
Which
first.
was, would it be a good idea to reach out to some of the London University LGBT societies? Because obviously, I'm not going to get into student politics, but obviously sometimes there's people who might go through one of those societies who might not find the university LGBT societies for them. But obviously if they've got, there's also these groups that, you might be interested in that offer events in London, sort of.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's something that's definitely on our radar. I think Justin's going to touch a little bit on that when we talk about diversifying our membership a bit more. We're conscious that we definitely don't want to be like a gamer group, but that's definitely one avenue of approach that we need to explore.
Definitely do that. Yeah.
Definitely, 100%. Charles in the back afterwards.
Okay. I wonder if we can look at partnershiping with the Gfinity Arena, which is London's youth sports venue. It's not very big, and it's the UK scene is much smaller than some of our European counterparts. But certainly, I think there may be opportunities for something there.
Yeah, very good. Very good field trip.
Yeah, definitely a good idea. Thank you.
Charles, come on, Kat.
So I know like sponsorship is all good and everything, but like, is there a point where you start getting a little bit concerned that maybe some companies might try and take over the group? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be a bit downer on everything.
No, definitely. That's something we've considered. I mean, when anything we've ever done with the company, we've been clear that obviously we want to run our events. If you guys want to help us achieve our mission, then great, that's fantastic. We're like, you're never going to come to an LG event and be like, by the way, MasterCard has a new card you can apply to or something like that.
It's just, I still want to be like rude. I just don't think, without just being like very rude, I just don't think I would enjoy it if I came to an event, there were adverts on screens everywhere, and I could not get away from an advert. Like, I don't want to be rude or mean or anything. I'm just trying to.
No, there's never been that, to be honest. No, that's a good point. And there's never been that, even when it comes to the relationships we've built. Like, for example, we had talks with people at PlayStation or Sony Entertainment or whatever it is in Soho, and then we marched right behind them in Pride, and then the next day we had an event with Xbox UK. So we're not saying like we're never going to be like, oh, Xbox, come sell your products to our members. We've never done that. We've never had any intention of doing that.
I mean, discounts might be nice.
Well, I mean, so you want the free loot, huh? But you don't want the advert.
We'll speak to Nando's.
Yeah, we'll speak to
I still own wrap of Nando's now.
That is really important.
Go.
Yeah, just really quick. That is really important, and it's something we're super conscious of all the time. Is that we never want that to happen. It's actually one of the reasons we don't ever talk about our own, which I'm going to do now, our own Patreon, because we don't think it should feel like an obligation. Some people said to us, can we donate? And we said, yeah, we've got no way of doing it, so we started the Patreon. It's not something we plug, it's not something we sell, it's not something that we put on screens every time you come to an event, because you shouldn't feel pressured into, we need to make our events free and for everyone to come in, is because it's about inclusion for everybody, not about give us your cash and give us £5 on the door and also give us the money on Patreon and also the drinks prices have been hiked and we're getting a cut from the bar and all this other stuff. It's not about that, it's about doing whatever we can to self-sustain and make things work and not plug things and make you feel uncomfortable and shake a bucket at you or anything like that.
That's a good point, though, Charles. And hopefully, rest assured that we're never. I'd rather have you guys at prep or something than have to go out. No. Any more questions? That's the noise. That's it for me. So this last point, it's kind of a funny one. If any of you work for a video game company, holla at me, because it'd be great to link up. Again, we have a lot to offer. So yeah, that's me done.
Okay, we've got one more short section, then we have a halfway break. Okay, so just one last bit.
That's it.
Is that right? Is this last bit?
Yep, this is it. Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Oh, no, that's Hello, everyone. Hi. I've got fluffy hair today. Sam pointed out to me earlier. He's like, oh, I like your hair like that. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to put product in. So, excuse me. Discord. I think you'll all agree it's an important part of the community. There's over 1,000 members of Discord now, which is pretty incredible. We started the Discord just over 2 years ago, and we've had some steady growth. But 1,000 members is pretty insane, with maybe 200-ish people at any given time, 30 or 40 people on average in voice every night. That's pretty insane. We know it's important to you because 93% of you said that it was important to you during the survey, and we're really, really happy about that. Over 2.6 million messages since the server started, and that's just, yeah, I think about 0.6 of those is probably the need. But it's, we recognise that it is a really, really important part of the community. Not everyone is on Discord, we realise that too, but we think it's a really, really strong channel for us going forward. And we hope that if you're not on Discord, you'll join Discord. Because it is kind of the hub of a lot of what goes on. So someone died back there? You okay, Charles?
Got the furniture, Charles.
Lenny, everyone loves Lenny. A short while back, Curtis said to me, we needed a mascot or something. So we were like, you know what, LG as the name for a bot isn't that great. Let's go for Lenny. Lenny begins with an L, and he's got some personality, but he's also just got a facelift.
Thank you, Jay.
And that's what he looks like today. And obviously, this was stolen from our LG5 artwork, which was done by the very talented Jay Barnum. Everybody applause. But we felt he needed just a little bit more. So.
to you, Matt.
All right, so we put this on right after the break because you're all awake and this is really boring. But we figured it's important to sort of give you an idea of how much money's in and out, because a lot of you do donate via Patreon. So it's a good idea to give you an idea of what we're doing with it. An average month, we get. There we go. It's so slow. I thought I sped this up. I'm blaming Curtis for changing all the animations.
I sped it up.
So we get £138. That's an average of the last 12-ish months of how much we've earned from Patreon.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you to our patrons. People don't realise this. We don't make anything on merch. It's about a penny here or there. We basically break even on merch. The reason why we do it is so people are wearing stuff with our logo, so people see our logo, so people see our address. It's not about making money for us. It's about awareness, and so lots of you guys like wearing the merch. So there we go. Patreon, and I said quite blatantly earlier, it's a Garbo platform and we hate it. It's not a nice platform, and I think anyone that's used it as a platform will understand some of the issues with it. Significant fees. There are some pretty insane fees with Patreon, and believe it or not, at Christmas they tried to put them up. It's a variable amount. So, a lot of people are on the $1 tier just because they want the orange name on Discord, and that's fine. Yeah. A lot of people are on. Yeah, and but some people are on 10, some people are on more, some people are on less, based on how much they can afford. And honestly, that is fine. We laugh, but that is fine. We appreciate everything that people contribute, but the amount is variable from month to month. That currency exchange. When we started Patreon, it was pre-Brexit. So the pound against the dollar, we were earning almost double pre-Brexit from Patreon. So that has actually hit us quite hard. So, this is where your balls come in. And I think I need to do.
What's your bucket again?
That. There we go. So.
Which one do you want? My 80.
Why am I the cheapest one?
I want to know. The camera is pointing at you guys.
Just pop that
I want to know, for every dollar you pledge, how much in pounds or pence, whatever is written on there, pence, we get.
Is it 60 pence? Is it 70 pence? Or is it 80 pence? Vote now.
Well, yeah, vote with your balls.
Okay, so no one thinks anything.
I think I got the better end of this deal. I'm not going to lie to you. Has everyone thrown a ball at Rat that's wanted to throw a ball at Rat? So what have we got in here? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nothing in 80. Did somebody try and throw an 80?
I think I know.
No. 2 and 70. Everyone that voted, quote 60. You're right. 60 pence. So.
Should do it again with different people.
This is why they gave 60 to Rap.
So, sorry, 60 pence, 85 cents. And then there's another section. There's another section. Can anyone guess where the blue section goes? And you can probably guess based on the numbers. Her indoors. Yeah. Ms. May takes 20% of everything. So when you pledge $1 to us, you're actually paying $1.20. The rest goes to Patreon, and it's quite a big cut, really, especially if you're only on the $1 or the $3 or anything. Sort of, there's only a few dollars. The fees actually add up quite a lot, and then the rest goes to us. And it's not an insignificant amount when you look at it like that, but when you look at how much actually people are paying versus how much we get, It's not very much, and I think a lot of people don't realise how much goes. So we thought it was important to show you that. It's also important to show you this. I've noticed I'm really out of breath.
I want to throw balls at you.
It's because I had to run to Wandsworth earlier to pick up the plastic cups because I totally forgot they got delivered yesterday.
It was like 2 hours ago.
Wow, brother!
We're all thinking again.
So, yes, that was a long time ago. It was very cold and I didn't wear a coat and I've had a bit of a cough since. So, when it comes to the bar, you will not be getting a drink. What we're spending? Is there an animation for this? Oh.
So what are you spending?
I think it comes afterwards.
I don't know, it's your presentation.
Yeah. Okay, what was the biggest expense in 2017? And I hope you've all got your phones ready. Go word cloud. This is weird. Lovely. Memes. Hair gel, Ruffs. Pride. Okay. Pride. Rafts, something. So, something of Rafts.
Just rafts.
Anything of Rafts.
Multiple rafts.
Wine, console, shelters, queens. Lovely. It's a good job. You know I can't actually see who's written all of these answers. We don't put it on screen, but it says on my screen over there. So, slash, sub, max. Max something. But, okay, so I think we're getting a pretty good idea here. Everyone is right. The answer is Pride. Pride was our biggest expense last year, 2017. Our financial year runs January to January. The reason why we do it that way is because we always have big events over Christmas that cost a lot of money. So our 2017 financial year, Pride was our biggest expense in real terms. £484 was the budget for Pride last year. Online services, that includes things like advertising, domains, boring, techie stuff. Events, that's things like decorations for Halloween loading, or sweets for Welly, things like that. Equipment, that's TVs, games, consoles, stationery, stickers cost a fuck, honestly. Games, debt, unfortunately we do have some debt. That includes things like expenses to me or Curtis or somebody else that's given us free stuff that's not really free. So that's what the money looks like. Now, you may remember how much I said we earned on an average month. So you divide those numbers, you add all those numbers up and divide them by 12. You're right, yes, we're spending more money than we have coming in. Does it say? Average of 140 are going every month. So that's usually one of the admins that props it up. But we don't mind doing it. We love doing it. We love you guys. We love the group. That's why we do it. Doesn't include expenses. It doesn't. Most of the time, it doesn't include expenses that we get receipts, but we probably never put them in. It's something that should change. We realise that, but also it's not financially sustainable. So notable changes for 2018. We realise that it's not financially sustainable. The most expensive items in the Pride budget are actually being reused. For example, this lovely banner here. And obviously this is something we've pulled out at pretty much every loading since and events like this. And these things aren't cheap, but they're worth it because we can pull them out all the time. Online services expenditure has been cut. Oh God, fucking hell. Basically what that means is that I'm not paying as much for the online store anymore, and I've told a few people to go fuck themselves when it comes to how much they're charging us. We are paying more efficiently for any targeted advertising that we're doing. The money that gets spent on things like bots, domains, hosting, things like that, we found more efficient ways of spending that money. Only a single deadline in 2018. It's not an insignificant one, but it does mean once that's closed, we shouldn't have any more debt, which is a good thing. potential sponsorship and donation opportunities. So there's a few people that know about this. Obviously, we go to Loading very often. Loading love us. We went to Loading pretty much as soon as Loading wasn't a thing, and they'd only just opened, and we said, hey, you're really quiet, I need lots of people. There are lots of people. And they recognise that. They have offered us a small sponsorship. The details are still being worked out, but it will bridge that gap and allow us to do more cool things going forward. And of course, at the next town hall, we'll be lovely and open and honest about how much money we're spending and how much money we're really getting. But this is something that's only just on the horizon. So, but that will be starting this year, probably with the next Loading, which is next week. Next week. So there we go.
To buy alcohol.
Sorry, man.
To buy alcohol.
It's CAPTIONS.
Or non-alcoholic.
Yeah. So survey. It was a bit long last year, wasn't it? Let's be honest. But it's all important stuff. And we looked at it, and nothing was really unexpected.
Oh, that's so slow.
I know, right? I thought it came.
It's mine.
All right. Board game meets. One thing that came up every single time, and almost everyone answered this. We want more board game meets. All right, fine. So, more board game meets. We're looking into various venues and different options for more board game meetups. Obviously, Games at the Griffin is not our event, but a lot of you like going there, and a lot of our members go there. They have been cancelled 2-3 months in a row now because they're having issues with the venue. So we appreciate you're all crying out for board games. And I'm not going to lie, I got several card games for Christmas and I haven't had a chance to play yet, and I'd love to. So we are looking into more venues for board games.
We do have board games to play later.
Yes, there's board games in there later as well. Everyone wants more Loading. Okay, fine.
Just get the map.
Yeah, more events, more Loadings. So you may have noticed a slower increase over the last few. They're less 6-7 weeks and more 5-6 weeks. And going forward, we'll see if we can get them almost every month. We touched on the numbers issue earlier. We think an increase in events will naturally decrease the numbers, which will help. But also, it means that there's more opportunities for people that want to come, can come. More stations at Loading. That's not a problem. We've already purchased another TV, more on the way, and obviously if we've got regular income from the likes of Loading, then it means we can invest more. So that's cool. Newbie chaperones. And we touched on this earlier, obviously a few questions were asked about this. So newbie chaperones is a key aim for the ambassador program. One thing that came up several times in the survey was, love the group, Discord's amazing, Facebook's all right, but I'm really scared when I come to events. So, key aim for the ambassador program is newbie chaperones, people that can show people around or introduce them to a game or something like that. Our weakest area was apparently streaming and video content, which is not something we were aware of because we actually felt we were pretty good in this area. So, we've taken to restreaming members. A lot of you may have noticed this. There's a dedicated streams channel on Discord now for members that like to stream their games. We want to encourage members to be streaming their games. More LG streams. There has been more LG streams so far this year than this point last year. More tournaments, things like that. We want to keep that up. Member Let's Plays. So get you guys to do some streams as well. We had one, was it last week or the week before with Chris? He did like a Let's Play of Civilization and talked through how to get into it and things like that.
We want the third most popular Civ streamer of the whole day.
The third most popular Civ streamer. I don't know if Chris is watching, but I think that deserves a round of applause. So if there is a game that you really like and you want to get other people involved, let us know. We'll get you set up with a stream, either on your own or on our account, and do some Let's Plays, and we really want to kind of increase our sort of streaming content because you guys told us that you felt we should be doing better, so we're trying to do better. And if in the survey at the end of this year you say, oh, it's still rubbish, then we'll have to rethink it, but hopefully you guys feel that this is a good way. So, you know what, I was going to do a survey for this and I never actually Did it? I never did that. Okay.
Can we throw balls at you again?
If you still have balls, feel free to throw them at me. So there's a few other things that we asked in the survey as well. There are reasons why we ask it to see if we're, what the dynamics are like, if we're targeting the right people. Can anyone guess what the potential split of iPhone to Android is in the group? 80-20 to what?
46.
You reckon 80 Android? 80 iPhone. Who said 50-50? You are correct. It is bang on 50-50, which surprised us as well because we thought it would be iPhones.
Okay, everyone hold your phone up.
Yeah. Yeah, live vote goes here. Cool. All right. What percentage of our membership lives outside of London? Outside of Greater London, so outside of the M25.
Essex is in London, Charles.
55.
Okay, any of you that said 30%, well done. 25 on Switch. I reckon 25 on Switch. Well, it's 30%, which surprised us, and that is quite a significant number, which is obviously we've touched on it already. We're looking at doing more online stuff and things like that to let our members that are further afield be more involved. Live vote. Yeah, cool. There we go. The biggest takeaway from the survey.
Just eat.
Just eat in the room. No, it's not a vote.
What's Hungry House?
Hungry House had a slightly offensive logo until not so long back. Hungry House has just been loads of it there.
Just eat more.
Just eat more Hungry House. There we go. Interesting. So biggest takeaway. Cool. Biggest takeaway. Our female and trans representation is nowhere near strong enough. We know this. You know this. You told us you know this. We're working on it, which takes us nicely on to diversity.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, questions?
Questions?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about my name?
Someone told me something.
Oh, a few hands. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's cool. Cool. Hi, Elijah.
Hi. So I guess when you showed the finances before, you said the expenses are higher than what's coming in.
Yes.
So have you considered doing some fundraising events? Because some people may not feel comfortable signing up to the Patreon, but doing, say, loading bar and getting people to maybe bake some goods, or a quiz night. I'm sure heaps of people have prizes that they could donate that are sitting around their house that they don't do anything with. So maybe a charity event could be a good way to boost some funds.
Definitely. A lot of it comes down to capacity to run the events. A lot of it comes down to we are quite bashful when it comes to events that involve money. We don't really want to have events that make it look like we're doing it just to get money. Obviously, you guys keep saying we don't have a problem with that, but we still feel uncomfortable about it. If people want it, then we can look into it, definitely. And I think with the ambassador program as well, there'll be more capacity to run those kinds of events. So hopefully things will change.
If Patreon's costing a lot of money, and clearly it is costing money in terms of the VAT and the cut that they take, obviously if you were a registered organisation, a kind of non-profit organisation, I'm just queuing you in here, then I could donate to you through payroll giving, and not only would it cost me less, it would only cost me 80%, but also you'd get a higher percentage of that money.
So again, it's one of those worst kept secrets. We are working on some kind of registration, some kind of official recognition. When that happens, it will be much easier. We'll probably sack off Patreon pretty much on day one and replace it with PayPal's equivalent for charities, and we get pretty much 100% from that. It's like a 2% type of PayPal take. And it'll also mean that we can take cash donations without fear of all sorts of tax and other shit. So yes, it's something we're fully aware of. So Thank you.
Just to clarify, we don't know what that registration looks like yet. So we are not saying we're going to be an X, Y, or Z, but we are looking into and exploring all the options about what's the best option for us as a group.
I realise I bet you're here on this on Monday.
Yes.
I love the fact that LG makes it possible for anyone to be able to come to these events, regardless of their means.
Yeah.
But I also encourage you to sweat those of us who are maybe a bit further on in our careers and our lives, a bit more, not be embarrassed about sweating us, because I believe in paying for something I love, and I love this group. So
cool. Thank you. Dan, behind you.
I realise you don't have a bank account because you're not incorporated or a charity.
We have a business account.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. There's probably one thing that I didn't cover that I was going to cover, but it's a bit boring. We have a debit account in my name, and we do that because it means we avoid a lot of banking fees. It does mean I pay tax on any income that comes in though. So HMRC sent me you've paid this much tax. And I was like, I don't know that much. And I was like, oh, okay. There is like essentially a staging account, which is in my name, and then there's a business account. But obviously, because it's a business account, we pay banking fees on that. So there is a business account, which 90% of the incoming and outgoing goes through.
So that's useful to know. I know that Ralph said earlier he doesn't want to have a bucket at events, but I think that would be a really useful thing to have at an event where I could just empty the change that's in my pocket into that every time I come to an event. That's not asking me to make a purchase of a ticket event. That's me coming to an event and just going, I've got a bit of cash in.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have to shake the bucket, it just has to be understood.
Even if you're registered, you're not allowed to shake the bucket. It's classed as intimidation.
It is pretty intimidating.
Yeah, it is pretty intimidating. And actually, even the charity I would give money to, I would refuse to if they shook a bucket at me. Bucket. That's my Midlands coming out. Yeah, so we fully appreciate that. It's something that we're uncomfortable with, and maybe that's something we need to change about ourselves. If everyone's saying we don't mind the fact that there's a bucket there, then we'll have to think about putting a bucket there.
Once we have the registration.
Yeah, once we have the registration, of course. Charles? Sorry, Dad, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to the sponsors and stuff, like you were saying. I don't know if you can say if you did get sponsors, would they send someone here to kind of
We wouldn't enter sponsorship in with anyone that would require that kind of involvement in the group.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like, I don't know how to say it, like in a kind of positive way to come here and see what's happening and see how it's going and whatever.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think of that. Maybe. I mean, it depends on whatever sponsorship we get. I mean, loading, you can call it sponsorship because technically that's what it is, but they don't really care. Let's be honest. They probably don't really care what we're doing outside of the average Saturday when we bring 150, 200 people to their bar.
Yeah, like you had Xbox or PS come and like see what's happening and see what they're giving.
Again, it's probably something for Raph and the.
What was
that? Yeah, so obviously it's something that the kind of like on the networking side that like the ambassadors are involved with Raph on that to explore. But to put your mind at ease, we would never enter into an arrangement with somebody where they insisted on having someone here. If somebody wants to come here to see what we're doing, then definitely, yeah. It's just finding somebody that wants to see what we're doing. Yeah. Any more? Sam's got his hand.
So, you know the patron, I thought it was
Hang
only
on.
like a £10 one.
Sorry. Say that again, Sam.
I thought it was only like a £10 patron thing.
No, there's $1, $3, $10. I think.
So I'd be more inclined to the lower end now when I don't earn enough.
That's fine.
I think more people would if they knew about it.
I don't think everyone.
Again, this is something that actually came up today on the Discord. Somebody said, I didn't even know about it.
Exactly, and here there's 40 people. On the Twitch stream there's like an extra, 50 people?
Yeah. How many people watching, Curtis?
31.
31.
So that's 80 people, right?
Yeah.
What about the other 1,000 people on Discord that they don't know about it? So the difference is only like £12 a month?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty easy to top up if
Yeah.
people knew about it.
Okay. Yeah. Again, it comes down to, we've always wanted Patreon to be 100% opt-in. We don't want anyone to feel like we're pressuring them or begging or, you know,
I don't think
there's some kind of entry requirement into the group. And again, I can see lots of people nodding here. You're like, we don't feel like that.
Yeah, no, we don't.
We feel like that. That's something we probably have to change about ourselves. You know, we'll take that on board, and maybe we should be a bit more obvious about the fact we have Patreon.
It's a balance, isn't it? You don't want to feel begging, and I completely understand that. But you can go too far the other way.
Yeah, we can't be too passive on it, and I appreciate what you're saying. I think what we do a good job of is not making people feel pressured into donating if they don't want to, because again, it's why we make things free, it's why we don't charge people to cut things. You should never feel like you have to spend money to have time with friends and enjoy a community. However, you know, sometimes it's too invisible. So we need to do a better job of making sure people can know it even exists in the first place. We probably we're not looking to plug it or beg for it at the moment. That's not something we're looking to do. But I think you're right, it could be a lot more visible, and it's not at the moment. It's in a couple of key places, and it's at the very bottom of the list, and it's like really small in there. If you want to donate, it's here, by the way. So yeah, we will make it more visible and make it easy to find that information.
So you can't help us from advertising for you.
That's true, that's true. I mean, if you want to do that, it's up to you guys.
Also, a lot of us are in like the social media and stuff, and I think you should get people like to have your logo on t-shirts and stuff, and have them posted it on their Instagram and Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
If anybody ever tags us in anything, I pretty much always retweet it. So if it will
Yeah, so if anyone that does have a
a
mug or a t-shirt or anything else,
Selfies.
Yeah, selfies. Honestly.
Take away your selfies.
Anyone else in the audience before I let Raph ask his question? That's quite a task. Yeah. So this was actually to Curtis. I got a DM from someone watching on stream. He just texted me now. He said, since LG is short of cash, are you willing to shave your beard off for 20 quid?
Don't do it! People here will pay more for him not to shave it.
We should do like a battle.
2,000.
Thank you, man.
We need to get a wrong one for 20 quid, but maybe we can figure something out.
Any more for any more?
Could we have one bucket for shaving off and one for not? Or whichever gets the most money?
Yeah, we'll chat in the break.
Real chat?
Yeah. When I say we, I mean just in me and Matt. But no, like I don't know. I wouldn't like to know what.
So it's just over $60 to do it.
60.
So I hear $70 anywhere in the room.
There's a 30 to keep though, so I like that.
Okay.
Is this going to be a whole event now?
I think it might have to be. We'll see. Any more for any more? No. Okay, Justin.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, guys.
Cool, thanks folks. So Em and I are going to talk to you a little bit about diversity. I think as everyone's kind of mentioned, it's like a really core part of our kind of new aims for this year, I think. Which isn't saying, of course, that like diversity hasn't been like a big part of LG. I think if you think about, well, certainly why I came to LG in the first place, like it would, one of the kind of the big kind of reasons for it and why it was important to me was about diversity. As anyone who's that's kind of blank. Oh, yeah. As anyone who's kind of, like played online games before or been involved in kind of gaming kind of thing, it often felt like kind of, my sexuality didn't fit with gaming culture. If you played like an online comp game especially, it can sometimes feel that like the kind of homophobia is kind of quite ingrained within kind of gaming culture. If you think about maybe where gaming culture's come from, being quite kind of originally kind of centered on like teenagers and kind of straight kind of young white guys kind of thing, you see that kind of policing going on around things like gender and sexuality. You might do in similar things maybe like sports, kind of like school settings too. So it kind of makes sense. But that, I think, is why, diversity is really at the heart of LGIT, when you get down to it. Because, for me, it was about finding a space and people who I could kind of game with, not only where my sexuality wouldn't be kind of banded around as an insult, or actually those two bits of my life which sometimes felt quite incompatible could actually be celebrated together as as a bonus and a benefit, if you like. And it's a really powerful thing. So, and that's fantastic, I think, and that's been one of the really powerful things that we have achieved with LG. We've made a safe space, we've made an amazing kind of gaming community where, homophobia isn't the norm, and where our sexuality and our love of gaming kind of come together in really amazing ways. So that's fantastic, and that's really celebrate. I think we should really celebrate that. However, it isn't really the entire picture. I think it's one of those. It's one of the things, that you can kind of, that I think that anybody who's been about on the kind of gay scene can kind of recognise that making a space gay doesn't make it automatically diverse or automatically welcoming. Especially if you're not white, if you're a woman, if you're transgender, or even if you don't have the right body. The gay scene often doesn't feel that kind of welcoming. So I think it would be kind of remiss for us to say, just because we've ticked off homophobia, we've made a safe space for LGBT people. And that actually, if we want to go kind of further, and we really want to make a really inclusive space, that we do need to put more effort into it. We can't just say we're an LGBT space and then kind of leave it at that. And so really, I suppose this is about kind of us starting to think about what we need to do, what we kind of proactively need to do to really make LG kind of more inclusive. And I think it is a really powerful thing. I think when you are in a really inclusive space that celebrates lots of different types of difference, not just about kind of removing homophobia, it does make it a better space for all of us. It does make it, it's great to be able to chat to people from different backgrounds and different kind of walks in life. And I think there's something really positive in that. So, looking forward and how we're going to go forward with this. I think there's a few kind of different kind of things for us about kind of improving diversity. I think the first thing we need to be kind of honest about the current challenges and the current situation. I think, if you look around, a lot of kind of gaming events, but even within the LG membership, we are looking at the fact that our membership base is mostly male and cis male, and mostly gay as well, and with a really big cohort which is white as well. So if we're going to kind of change that and kind of improve that a little bit, it's going to need a bit of an active effort. Oh, sorry, because so I think we have a clear sense, I think, on who is underrepresented within the membership, and I think the key thing that we want to really do now is to kind of take some active steps to really kind of address some of that stuff. It's not enough for us just to say that we're LGBT and inclusive and you're welcome. There are those kind of inequalities within our membership. We want to change that, we have to do something about it. So, I'm going to pass you on to Emily. She's going to tell you a little bit about one of our first pieces of work with this, which is our Women's Diversity Project.
Yeah. Hello. I don't speak good, so please be nice. So we have been talking a bit about including more women in and drawing more women into the group. Obviously there is not a lot, and I'm very lonely. Ginny, I have Ginny now, which I'm very happy about. I saw her and I started crying immediately. But no, I think it is very important to have more women in the group. And I think it is important to kind of reach out to a lot more women, because before I had this group, before I was here, I loved my gaming, I did, but I'm not very good at speaking, and I have had no prep. This was literally this morning. I kind of kept it very much to myself, and I had an online community, but I didn't tell anybody I was a woman online, because you do get attacked a lot. And I think it's really good to have this kind of community, so I can come out and be like, oh hey, I'm actually welcome here, and how am I going to say this? I'm very sorry, I'm not good at this. So when I first joined, it took me a long, long time to actually come out, because kids don't take offense to this, but you're very, very male. And it's not that I doubted anyone, but it was more like I wasn't going to have anyone to relate to, because you all obviously kind of relate to a lot to each other. I couldn't really fit in with the conversation. I didn't really have a place here. But now that I'm in, it's actually fantastic, and I want to share this. So what we're kind of doing is, yes. Yeah. Again. Getting there, we're getting there. Okay, so what we're trying to aim to do is kind of create space for women in the group. So we're going to start this off with a women's only space in Discord, like a women identified space in Discord, which is really, really important, so that when you're on the outside looking in, like I said, I had nothing to tell me that there was space for me in here. I didn't really have much to tell me that I was welcome. Like it's really easy to say, oh yeah, you're welcome here, it's all good, but it's another thing to actually come in and be like, oh, I actually am. So by having these spaces already there and already visible and prepared for you, it's much, much easier to come in and test the waters and be like, oh hey, like I'm gonna test this out. And then obviously I'll be in there, so I'll be in there being like, hey, you can come out to events, it's gonna be great. But yeah, so it's really important to have that, to make people feel comfortable, to make people feel like they're welcome and that they have somewhere they can start off with, which is really good. Next up, yeah, another thing is events. We're going to be doing a lot more women-centric events. Like on Monday, we went down to the Museum of London to do the Women in Gaming talk, which was really good and really informative. That sounds so English. Every now and then it just catches up to me. But that was a brilliant event, and it does kind of show people, it's an active way to show people that we're interested in women and that we are taking women seriously. And once again, not very pale, and having an all women's event is a bit more inclusive, a bit more inviting to people who might be a bit nervous about coming out to an event that is heavily male dominated. So we're going to be focusing on that. Yeah, we're doing blog posts. I've completely lost my train of thought. Okay, so yeah, we have the Medium blogs, and thought it would be a good idea to have kind of a regular blog post that is completely women-centric. So women's issues, written by women as much as we can, very women-centric, to kind of get the conversation going and to start a dialogue about it and to keep it going. It's really easy to start these kind of things, but you have to keep it going. So making it a regular kind of blog would be very, very good, that people can contribute to. If you have any ideas, anything like that. This is where the ambassador program comes in. Yeah, this is where the ambassador program comes in again. So if you have any ideas, hit one of us up. We can start talking about it and start it going. And the last one was, yes, the alignment ads on Facebook. Sorry, I have had zero prep. We are aiming to do specifically women-targeted ads on Facebook and things, try and get a bit more visibility, specifically aimed at women and women-identifying people, which would be really, really good, because once again, it's all about the visibility. It's all about letting women and women-identified people know that there is a space here prepared for them, and there is a space here that they can come into and feel welcome in. This is a really important step, I find, actually. But yeah, that's pretty much our 4-step plan for getting me a girlfriend.
Not that applause for me, please. So as any of you else said, that's our kind of starting point for women's stuff. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how the Discord women's channel goes. We might make some changes to all those things as it goes along. And actually, when we get some more, a strong representation within the membership as well, I'm sure those folks are going to have ideas as well. So it's a starting point, but hopefully that's going to change a lot. And this is just an example of one of the pieces of work. It was a great point to start with because we had Emily, already on board. But I think what we want to try to do is copy the same sort of type of approach, I guess, for for trans gamers as well. Kind of thinking about how we might start to do a similar thing around that. We're also looking at things like BME representation within the group as well. Like think about doing more kind of outreach within those groups, maybe having a strong representation, things like Black Pride. So there's going to be pieces of work going in each of these areas as well. And as Emily said, the Ambassadors Programme is absolutely central to that. So if you're interested in any of these areas at all, you've got some ideas, you'd like to try and help kind of push some of this stuff, please come forward. Because we can't kind of do this stuff without kind of people like Emily who are amazing kind of champions for this stuff. And it kind of really sort of hangs off some of that kind of involvement, I think. So yeah, so that's hopefully where we're going to be going with some of that. One other little bit, this is it's kind of like diversity based as well, but it's also kind of outreach, and it kind of touches on what Curtis was talking about earlier about kind of giving back to the community. So we had a recent opportunity actually where Metro Charity in London approached us and said, look, we're doing an LGBT youth summit in Southwark, do you want to come along? We were like, yeah, you know, we'll give that a go. And it was amazing. We spoke to like about 30 different kind of young people who were as young as about sort of, you know, 13, 14. It was, you know, I think often with LGBT youth groups you get really good representation of like trans people and women as well, much more than like the kind of the general gay scene, I think. We had loads of, like, you know, we had a trans woman who was down from Birmingham who was a big Pokemon fan, and it was just amazing. And I think, as Curtis said earlier, like, you know, if I think back to when I was like, you know, 14, 15, and you know, you suddenly there's something like London Games exist, it would blow my mind. You know, it'd been amazing. And we were chatting to some people there. We got really good interactions there. People, you know, loved us being there. And actually, Metro said to us afterwards, said, look, you know, there's no money in LGBT youth work anymore. It's been cutting councils. You know, we put events on, we have to put some party rings out and, like, you know, put some music on. There's no money to buy cool stuff for these kids anymore. So like, you bring on like a VR setup, you know, that's something they've never done before, and we don't have the money to buy that stuff. So it just felt like a really good thing we can do. We actually thought, God, you know, there's all these LGBT youth groups all across kind of London that we can actually kind of tap into and do outreach there, and just kind of, and even if they're not gamers, do you know what I mean? I think it's still amazing to be saying, like, look, this is the sort of diversity that's out there in the community. You know, it's not, you know, gone to grind and that's your only option out there. There are these kind of community groups, there are different types of spaces out there, just to kind of broaden your horizons. So yeah, definitely. So that's something we're going to be doing much more of over the next couple of years, doing outreach to LGBT youth groups. Again, if anyone's interested, please get in touch via the ambassador programs. We need some help to kind of help run some of those. And yeah, and the suggestion earlier of doing like the uni groups as well, I think that would fit really well too, like doing outreach with some of the LGBT uni groups as well. So yeah, so it's just like another example, I suppose, about how we're trying to kind of reach out to the community a bit more. So yeah, I think that's it. Any questions? Nathan.
Hi. Yeah, no, I think, you know, what's happening is, you know, absolutely amazing. Like you said before, you know, I used to be in an LGBT youth group myself, you know, because I'm younger than all of you. You know, and as it was said before, like you said before, you know, the funding's just been cut, you know, repeatedly to the point that they can't actually sustain themselves anymore. I think one of the things that people have come to me about, you know, in terms of inclusivity, are people of colour. And I know there's like it's sort of a grey area, because, you know, you don't want to turn around and say, okay, we're going to do an event where it's only people of colour come in, you know. But is there sort of any plan to sort of engage more people, to turn around and say, hey, you know, we do have people of colour here, you know, maybe they don't engage in the sort of in-person events as much, but, you know, we do have people here and you are accepted in the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I said that, but you know, I think with each of those kind of groups, I think you're going to need like a slightly different approach. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be like a one-size-fits-all. Like, you know, so you know, in the case of with the women's stuff, we sort of sat down and thought, okay, you know, a women's only Discord channel seems to fit. You know, that might not be anything that like applies to every group or, you know, works for everybody. But yeah, definitely, I think that would be really good. And like, so for example, the first thing that jumped out was maybe having like a stronger outreach presence or something like Black Pride. You know, and kind of putting yourself out there a bit, saying, you know, again, like making a proactive effort. So I think it's one thing just to say, you know, okay, yeah, we're welcoming, and that's great. But you have to kind of reach out a little bit. You have to make a bit of an extra effort to address those kind of imbalances that are there. So we can't just sit on our heels and just be like, yeah, you know, we're not racist, that's fine, great, we'll, you know, turn up, please. You know, we actually have to kind of make a point to kind of go out there and get kind of people out there and proactively kind of engage with those groups as well. So yeah, we'd be really up for that. So yeah, any ideas you have around that stuff, you know, if you want to come forward and think, okay, I know a way we can kind of do something, so that's something we can do about this, we can put some resource behind you to help do that. Cool. Any other questions on diversity stuff? All good? Oh, yeah. Cool.
I just wanted to commend you on the projects that you've got going on. I mean, they are great initiatives, and I really do hope they work and they're successful, especially for you to get a girlfriend. The one thing I would ask you to think about is access and disability.
Mm-hmm.
I know Matt and I had a brief chat about this in the week. It's something which isn't addressed in your PowerPoint, but it's something which I know I read on Facebook that somebody had a condom put lube in their pockets, and they felt violated by that. I had a friend who came had a bit of a breakdown, and he wasn't judged, everyone was really supportive, and he went home, so that's great. But there's just disability access, which I think maybe needs to be on their radar at some point. You've got a lot going on, and I can see you're doing a lot of good work with something that you haven't addressed yet.
Yeah, no, certainly, thank you. And actually was on my list of going through the kind of lists about that stuff. Actually was actually on there as a thing, but I put it on PowerPoint and got lost off in my bad presentation, so sorry about that. But yeah, it definitely is on our radar. It's one of those things which you kind of think about. And because we've done stuff, previously things like special effects and stuff like that, it's there kind of on our kind of radar, I suppose, again as well. So I think it's one of those things which will be great to do some more work around that too. We've already actually had some of our ambassadors come forward and say they'd like to focus on some of that work. So yeah, there's 2 people so far who've come forward and said, that's something they'd like to focus on. So again, I think that is, the kind of the mechanism for sort of thinking about that stuff a little bit more and getting kind of some of that stuff out there. So I think once that ambassador is imposed a bit, and then we can get that out there, put it out to the wider group and say, what stuff would you like to see in terms of increasing access around that, And again, how can we make things like loading bar more accessible? How can we make some of the online stuff more accessible? How can we kind of weave that stuff into the work that we do? And again, we've always kind of had that in the background, but I think often, as you said, it's often just been the capacity stuff that would be like a nice to do thing. You don't get the time and energy to do it. But again, I'm hoping with the ambassador, we're going to get some people who have got really great backgrounds and good skills and experience in some of this stuff that can bring some of that to the group and say, look, I know how we can do this kind of visa, and there's some good contacts we can make here, how we can take that forward. So it's been really encouraging so far. And if we don't see some of that stuff from the group, I think that's what we can specifically do an ask out with our ambassador to say, look, here's a piece of work that we need some extra help on. So yeah, definitely it's something that I'm horizon.
So just before we came to mind, I just wanted to commend you on your responsiveness too. So I remember that you had a film event, and a couple of my friends came with me and asked for subtitles, which you did, and I know that Matt spent a lot of time writing subtitles. And so again, I know that you're very responsive, so when people ask for stuff, I think it's worth commending your responsiveness so far.
Cool, thank you, that's really good to hear, thanks. Any other diversity questions or ideas, suggestions? Cool, yeah?
Yeah, hey, thank you for doing everything you do. But I think I suppose I just realized now, and I've been kind of part of Gamers for basically almost 3 years now. And I think I've only really met like 1 or 2 Eastern Europeans in the group, which is actually kind of weird. I only realize it now because London has a big Eastern European minority, and I do know that a lot of gay Eastern Europeans move specifically to London and other Western European cities because obviously it is a lot more open. And I suppose I just I only kind of realize now when you talk about the diversity, so I don't really have any kind of idea story about that. But it's just one of the things I didn't notice, there is not really, I've only probably met 1 or 2 in the 3 years, and then it's kind of, I suppose, a little weird.
Why is that? Yeah. And that's kind of the question you have, when we sat with the women stuff, going where will the lesbian gamers? They must be out there, do you know what I mean? But they're not here. So so again, it's like a similar question. If you look around the group and you're saying it feels like someone's missing here, it feels like kind of somewhere. That's when we can, start to kind of think about that stuff a little bit. So if you think, okay, so how can we reach those people? What are the barriers to it? Is it, is it language-related barriers? Is it because people don't see themselves represented in the group in the way it's advertised? What are those barriers, I guess? And again, with all these things, is there something we can do about that? And I think, we generally are, we are kind of committed to this stuff. It's not like it's open thing. So if people do come with an idea or a suggestion, a way we can easily do that stuff, then we're happy to go with it. And I think with the ambassador, what's been amazing, so I'll tell you about ambassador in a second, but we've got a Discord channel just for ambassadors now, who just do stuff. And it's we've got about 15, 16 new ambassadors in it, which is amazing. But already they're doing this amazing job, just bouncing ideas off each other and coming up with solutions and stuff, way more than we ever did. Do you know what I mean? We come up with a problem and it's us all going, I don't know. Whereas you've suddenly got 15 people and all their experience and their knowledge in London, all those kind of things together. So, when you kind of crowdsource that stuff together, they come up with these great solutions. So I think a lot of this stuff around diversity, again, with the ambassadors, it'll just be a lot easier to do because you've got so many more people who know stuff about London and about different communities that we can kind of tap into. So, yeah, if you've got those kind of questions, raise them to us, bring them to us, and then hopefully we can try and come up with some answers.
Just a really quick thing to add to that. Really quick thing to add to that. It sounds silly, but there's a new census this year, and that will give us really good data to let us know, okay, London's makeup is this, what's our makeup, or anywhere close to that. And, if it's London's makeup is only 5% of a certain X, Y, Z, and we're higher than that, then fantastic, you know? But sometimes that's actually really good data to be conscious of realistically what can we expect to see, and in fact how we also know we're underperforming in areas. So yeah, that will be useful data for us.
Cool. So a few more diversity questions. Cool.
Firstly, love everything that you're doing. One thing that I would probably suggest is, so I know that you were at MCM this year, and I would probably recommend doing more stuff like that, where it's not necessarily, so like you're doing LGBT reach out, but maybe more like getting more involved in just like the gaming community as a whole, because like I wasn't out until last year, but I was in the gaming community, and just seeing the presence of LG just within the gaming community, then you start to become more visible of that support network. Like I wasn't really visible at LG until probably like last year, because I wasn't obviously involved in the LGBT community, but I was involved in the gaming community. So just seeing you at stuff like Eurogamer or LFCC or any of those kind of video game or geek culture events, having a presence there would probably be quite good. It'll help you diversify, I would say.
Yeah, it's a really brilliant point. I think the nice thing about that kind of ticks both our aims, because I think it's kind of Curtis was saying earlier, one of the aims we've got is about, affecting the wider community, and that's okay, LGBT community is one of those things, but it's also the gaming community as well, and kind of rubbing up against or trying to make like positive changes about some of that kind of ingrained homophobia or misogyny and that stuff that's kind of ticking along there. And I think one of the ways we really powerfully do that is by engaging with the community, being kind of present at stuff like EGX, and having if they do like another EGX Res Road to Overwatch or something this year, but let's put a London Gaymers team in there. Let's kind of sort of get so I think it's really powerful to get gamers out there in the wider community as well. We're going to hopefully be doing some more events like EXP Leisure, where they had the World AIDS thing last year, which is like a really good sort of central kind of gaming hub in London. I think it'd be great to be there alongside like the wider gaming community. Be like, look, we're here, play with us and stuff. Like, let's do some games. And I think that's really powerful, both for reaching those LGBT people who might not know it yet within that community, but also just improving the kind of the awareness of LGBT gamers as well.
Any more?
Cool. Yeah.
Steve. I was just wondering, obviously, you said that obviously the new census coming out. Would it be worth, because obviously with the more visible venues of LG, obviously we've got quite good we know some of the demographic breakdown there, but would it be worth doing a sort of anonymous LG census?
Yeah, I mean, that's
so we get the sort of data from the people who are
not that data from the Gamer Survey.
Yeah,
some of that top line data comes from the Gamer Survey, which we did one of in December. So we'll continue to collect that data and then use it to come back.
No, I couldn't remember. I was so with it. So.
Cool. Any diversity questions? Are we good?
I do have one question.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting, Curtis mentioned the survey there. One question we did shy away from was ethnic diversity. We asked if you identify as a boy, girl, both, nothing, something in between. We ask you if you identify as gay, queer, something else, something else, something else. Would people have an issue if we asked you about ethnic diversity? No? I mean, I'm looking to the people who are ethnically more than the white people shaking their heads. No, okay, so I mean, obviously, it can be a sensitive subject, so we'll make sure in the next Gamer Survey, probably in December, we'll make sure that question's in there. Cool.
Yeah, okay, next one, we're getting there, we are nearly there, we'll be more drinking soon. Okay, so ambassadors, so let's just give a real quick overview of the ambassador program, about why we put it together and where we're up to so far. So this was kind of like life at LG normally, on the admin team, in a standard kind of way. I mean, I think that's good. It's Matt in the corner, that's Matt in the fire actually. So I mean, I think as Curtis said earlier, we've gone through a huge amount of growth, which has been amazing. We've gone from, what was it, like sort of 12 events a year to like over 100. It's massive. And that's been great. There's been so much kind of new stuff going on, but it's just, sometimes admin feels a little bit unsustainable. There's just so much going on, and that's kind of fine. I mean, we all signed up for this, there's loads of work, but I think what's a shame sometimes is there's missed opportunities, do you know what I mean? Someone will come up with a cool idea and you're like, yeah, that's great, but I haven't got time to do it, or a new game comes out and we kind of missed the ball there a little bit.
And, you know, I remember when like Destiny 2 came out, like none of the admin team were playing Destiny 2 properly at that time, and we just didn't quite jump on it quick enough. I mean, you know, we're in Destiny 2 now, but at the time, do you know what I mean? It was like we should have had a really, you know, a strong guild from the day one there, but we didn't have the capacity to do it. So I think there's definitely a sense where if we had kind of more people kind of, you know, involved with it, we'd be able to do more stuff, we'd be able to, you know, try different things, have more kind of diversity as well. So that was really the idea behind putting the ambassadors together. This is slightly awkward, it's slowly, hands on it, I think, slightly creepy, sorry, just edging his way and stuff. So yeah, I mean, really what we kind of recognise as well is that we've got, you know, within the community, we've got all the people we need here in terms of like the knowledge and the skills to do like really cool stuff. You know, people love loads of different games here, have kind of specialisms, they work in like really diverse areas, they've got, you know, really interesting kind of links to different communities as well. So what we kind of want to do with the ambassador program is to kind of strip out some of the boring stuff with being an admin, all the kind of laborious stuff, and just let people focus on doing what they loved, and to do that within the group a little bit. So if you've got a particular game that you really love, or there's an event you want to do, or something like that, what we want to do is just make it easy for you to put that event on, to not be frustrated that it's not happening, and to kind of strip out all the kind of like the boring, tedious stuff with being an admin, or the kind of like the more laborious stuff. So it's a fun thing that you can kind of get involved with. So we put the ambassador program together, and the key things we wanted it to be is to be really flexible, I think, as well. So we came up with like sort of 5 different areas, I think, roughly. So there's events, obviously, is the biggie one, and that can cover everything, as I said, from like a little tiny niche event about a particular game, you know, no one else plays kind of thing, that's absolutely fine. All the way up to big things like loading bar, you know, big flagship events. Again, we'll help with those to run things like the newbie programs with that, that'd be amazing. Also the outreach and diversity stuff. So yeah, taking kind of leads from particular communities to work on kind of improving, growing those communities within LG, but also going out to do outreach like with things like the LGBT youth stuff as well. We've also got tech and merch as well. Like what guys don't often appreciate is like to do all this stuff. It's just like I don't know what the hell Matt does, to be honest. A lot of the time, he's just going to sit there and swears at his laptop a lot. But you know, like doing all the streams and all this kind of stuff and lives and all this kind of stuff. There's a huge amount of techie, nerdy stuff going on. Like we just had like Ginny made and all the new bots and stuff. I don't understand any of that stuff. But what's amazing is we've got these people who do. We can do really cool stuff with that. So again, like people being able to bring those skills is fantastic. Games, of course, yeah. Like again, we can't, us programmers can't play all the games, but like amongst you lot, we've got amazing kind of specialists. You've got all your kind of like nerdy specific interest there. We want you to be able to kind of play that and find other people who do that stuff. So if there's a game you play and it's not being played much within LG at the moment, you know, you can get it out there. We can get it, you know, get other people playing and put an event on. You know, we'll advertise it for you. Start to grow that community, I think, a little bit. And it's been great seeing like games like Monster Hunter kind of take off at the moment. There's been like a really nice active community around that. Yeah, and social media content, again, like social media is a really big kind of part of what we're doing, how we reach other people and how we do that, influencing the wider community stuff. So, and again, we often haven't had the time to do that stuff. Things like Reddit have fallen like a little bit fallow, I think. We probably need to be doing more stuff on Instagram. So if anyone like enjoys that stuff and wants to kind of take it, that'd be amazing. And again, things like the content of doing things like blog posts and getting guest writers and stuff like that, all that stuff is amazing. And you know, if people can kind of bring some of that to it, it just makes it so much better in terms of what we can do and the people we can reach. So yeah, that's it. So at the moment we switched on the application process. We had an amazing response. We had like about 17 people I think come through in the first day. And a really just a huge range of different skill sets. Now we've got people who want to do events, we've got people who want to put on reach particular communities, who want to do outreach stuff with youth stuff. And we've got some people who want to focus on disability and access. We've got other people who are really techie and just want to do like some coding stuff behind the scenes. So it's been amazing. We've got a Discord channel which we've set up, which is for the ambassadors, and it's just we've all these different kind of channels on there, and people are just jumping in and out and helping each other with different events. So it's been great. I think I can speak for the admins that it's been like it's gone, you know, been a huge success going on Wildest Dreams as a starting point. It's just really encouraging to see that, and I think it's really exciting over the next year where it can go. So yeah, really, just another plug really, that if you have any ideas or there's anything today which you thought that would be cool, or you still want to get a little bit more involved with LG, but you maybe don't want to have, you know, throw hours and hours of time at something, but it's just a particular thing you want to do, yeah, get involved with the ambassador scheme. To do so, it's really easy. You just go to our Medium on London Gamers. I've also actually just tagged a pinned post in the Facebook group, so you can find us there as well. And then we will also be under the announcements in Discord there too. So there's a few different ways into it. to find the kind of program. But basically, go online, read about the program. There's a tiny little application form to fill in, and we'll be in touch and go from there. But,
Oh, and also, if anyone wants to speak to us today, we're here. So grab us and we'll get you involved.
But yeah, so thank you so much, and yeah, we'll look forward to a really exciting year. Oh yeah. There's something about support in there. Moy was not in there, she took on sport, which is like DBS. Just killed it at the last slide. Okay, any questions about our ambassadors? Oh.
To these people that are standing
Hey.
up, do you want to shuffle back in now?
I feel bad that you just stand
I can wait, don't worry. So, just a quick question. I got to help out with you guys before the ambassador program kind of came in, but I had to kind of bail out of it due to like my work commitments just kind of exploded on me. How flexible is the program?
Really flexible, I think, and that's one of the things that, like, so I usually like look after volunteers at THC and stuff. One of the things is, you know, when you're volunteering, like, stuff changes, do you know what I mean? You'll have, like, sometimes work will just go insane and you'll have no extra time to, you know, to do these sorts of things, or there'll be personal stuff that comes up. Yeah, happens with us. So I think the key thing is we want it to be really flexible, do you know what I mean? Like, so let's say you want to come along 1 month and put an event on, that's great. If that's the only thing you ever do, that's fantastic. Do you know what I mean? That's still like a bonus to you. So I think we want it to be something that's fun for you, do you know what I mean? We don't want it to be like something which is like a burden or like another thing that's kind of like, you know, too much stuff to do in London and just like, you know, another point of stress, I think. So, and the nice thing is, I think, having these kind of big groups, it means we can be quite flexible. So you can come along, chip into an event, do a particular thing, that's fine. If you need to bow up some time, that's fine too, I think, as well. So, and although we had those kind of those, you know, like 5, 6 different areas there as well, if you think of something that's beyond that and doesn't fit into it, you know, we'd like to hear about it as well. Yeah. So yeah. So the key thing is we're trying to keep it flexible. I think we recognise if it's not flexible, we're probably not going to stick with it. You're not going to come back, and it's going to put people off. So and that's so the whole kind of program is kind of geared toward just trying to make it easy, I suppose. So you can do the fun stuff you want to do, but if it gets hard work or you can't do it, that's fine too. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Alright. I'd just like to know, to gauge a bit of audience, who found replay useful?
Oh, replay.
Replay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. No one. Right, cool. I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, so Jackie does a dimension.
Oh, yeah, who knows about it?
Yeah. Has everyone seen the replay videos? Yeah. I mean, this is one of the tricky things. Like Jack put together the amazing, with Curtis put the amazing replays together, which are these cool little recaps about everything that was going on, a little nod towards the stuff that was coming up again. And I think one of the tricky things about again is that kind of how you kind of push that stuff out, I suppose, a little bit is tricky. You know, the Facebook group, if you put posts on Facebook, not everybody will see them at all. It doesn't go to all 2,000 members. You know, only a kind of small proportion will see those kind of posts and actually go through and look at stuff. But I think things like those are really useful things. It was always great. I think it gives us another way to think about the problems we had earlier where we were trying to say how can we get people to know what's going on. It's another cool way to kind of do that, I think. So I don't think we can kind of, you know, I think the more ways we have for doing that, the better, I think. If we can find better ways to push that, so more people can actually see it. So I think clearly the people there who did see it thought it was useful. So
Everyone absorbs information.
It's nice to see the feedback of it as well.
Yeah, some people a video, 1 minute, less, you know, 60-second video is really useful. Some people like a newsletter, some people find it themselves.
Yeah.
So if we can keep finding different ways to help people find the data, then great.
Cool. Cool, thank you. Any other ambassador questions?
Yo.
Sorry.
Our ambassador, is the application going to be open like forever, or is it going to be until a certain amount, or are you going to get rid of ambassadors? Is it just going to be a thing that?
I think forever, to be honest, unless we have like, I mean, it took a little while to get through because we don't like talk to people and be like, you know, what do you want to do, and you know,
Yeah. So I imagine people would come here and sort of figure out what it's all about before they even bother to apply.
I think generally we like to keep open as much as possible. Like hypothetically, I suppose we might get to a point where we suddenly have a massive rush of like, I don't know, 30, 40 people, and it would take us a while to get through those people. We'd be like, you know, getting set up and things like that. So there might be a time when we might temporarily turn it off, so people aren't waiting like a month to hear from us, I suppose. But I think generally it doesn't feel like it's something which, I don't know, should be too limited by numbers. The more people, the better, I think, doing more bits.
Yeah, it's not fun to like, you know, have ambassadors for a year and be like, we're done with those now, so we've got everything we need. It's supposed to be ongoing. It's part of just getting you guys involved. So.
Thank you.
Cool, another question, Nathan?
Yeah, no, it's another question about the ambassadors. like, what essentially, like you mentioned before, you know, if someone wants to just do sort of a one-time event thing, you know, that's all well and good, but I think, would there be like a sort of a requirement in a sense, like, you know, say if a few members of Channel and say, oh yeah, they would endorse this person to become an ambassador, or you know, they've been recognized in the community, you know, is there like a sort of, not like a, oh, you need to be in the group for like a year, but like something that sort of says, okay, you're serious about, you know, actually representing LG and, you know, long term, and you know, just so, is there like a sort
like
of
a vetting process? Yeah. I mean, it depends on what people come for, because it's so varied. Do you know what I mean? If someone's like, I want to put an event on, say for example, and I want it to be for 200 people, do you know what I mean, or something, I'm going to book out a venue, then like depending on the risk of the event, do you know what I mean? So like if it's a little small thing that hasn't got much risk attached to it, that's kind of cool. If someone comes out of the blue and just like, oh, I want to put this massive thing on, then we'd obviously sort of probably like give them more admin support, get more involved with it. So I think the kind of like the autonomy that person gets, I guess, do you know what I mean, will depend on like how long they've been with the group, what the type of event is. But every ambassador will get like support from one of us guys as well, just to like help with stuff. So it's not the case we're just gonna like take people on board and just fling them back out and expect them to be putting stuff on. So as you know, I think as someone said earlier, we don't want it to be a case where, you know, there's bad events happening, stuff like that. But that's, you know, so I think the support of the admins will be there to kind of like, it will scale depending on what the event is and like who the person is as well, I think, and how much they've done with LG before. Cool. Any other ambassador stuff? All good? Brilliant. Cool. Thank you, folks.
I chose that just to embarrass him right after he was talking, because I'm not entirely sure he even remembers that. And that, yeah, that's Halloween. So he's got some light up bats and some fake blood, and I don't know what's on his head. But
I think it was St. Paddy's Day. Like,
why though? Because that was in October. Oh well, never mind. Enjoy the picture of Justin making a fool of himself. Lots of people tell us about merch. This is a very quick section of YouTube today. Lots of people talk to us about merch. Lots of people ask for Lenny merch. Well, you know what? We've got Ginny now too. So Lenny and Ginny merch. My beautiful models. And my party model. There we go. So, I mean, these are some prototypes that were sent from our partner yesterday. I think these came through. You know, so there are things on the way. We are working on them. So you'll all be pleased to know there's some cool new mugs coming. Also t-shirts, also cushions and things like that as well. Thank you, Jay, for that work. Me and several others. Oh no, let's finish this bit first. Yeah, and there's lots of other cool logo t-shirts and things like that coming up as well, because there are some new products from our dropship partners, which means we can do some new cool things. This is another one as well that's always been slightly conscious. There's lots of places we could get things really, really cheap. You know, we could get the merch really cheap and really shitty cotton from China, made for like £3. But that's not sustainable. We don't think that's sustainable. We don't think that's very. What's going on? Oh, that was a bit quicker than I was expecting. Yeah, that one we sped up. Right, so nearly all of our merch now, going as of next week, is in biodegradable packaging. It's recycled, it's recyclable, it's biodegradable, and all of the postage material is recyclable as well. There will be some exceptions because we have multiple partners for the merch, but we think this is really important. You know, because as a group that sort of focuses on sort of diversity and being nice to each other, I don't think it's fair if we're buying t-shirts from China for a couple of quid made by some child on 3 pence a day. And I hope you will agree. Sorry? What was that, Jackie? Say what you mean. Speak up. I'm sure. Oh, yeah. It's a good job the mic wouldn't have picked that up. Right. Pride? I don't know. Shall I talk about this one? Do you want to talk about this one? You haven't been up since the beginning, have you?
Oh, I guess I have to.
Oh.
I don't know what's on these slides. You don't? I'll figure it out. Okay. So, Pride, we're going to go back again this year, obviously. And we've applied to be back in this year. We're waiting confirmation, but we're pretty certain we're in. It's going to be bigger. We've applied for twice as many people as last time. Because last time we got to capacity and then people missed out. It was a massive shame. We're going to open up registration as soon as we know and let people plan far in advance, or far ahead, to make sure they can get in. We're going to encourage cosplay again this year. We had some people cosplaying last year, it was great. We're going to encourage it again this year. We don't have a theme yet. We could have a theme. But also we don't want to force you into something difficult, like, oh, everyone needs to be Mercy and make beautiful wings. So we're not going to force it, but there might be a nice sort of theme we can come up with as a group, so maybe we could discuss that together, potentially, which would be great. We will have t-shirts again. Last year, everyone either wore an LG t-shirt or cosplay, and it made a really fantastic impact when we were walking down Oxford Street together. And so we'll definitely be asking to do that again. We will be asking you to, if you're not going to wear cosplay, wear an LG t-shirt. We cannot fund those for you, but we can ask you to buy them for a very, very low price from our new sponsored partners. However, we will match the design to what London Pride's design is for that year, as we did last year. And you can probably see on the screen, actually, to your left. Is that on now?
Yeah, it is.
Or is it Mario Kart? Hey, there you go, perfect. I knew that. And we will, match the design to that year again. If you bought a t-shirt last year and there's going to be a new theme this year, do you need to buy a new t-shirt? No, you don't need to buy a new t-shirt. If you want to wear the t-shirt you bought last year and save some money, it's absolutely fine. If you want a 2018 t-shirt, that's also fine too. But we'll update our design based on what Pride in London are doing so that we coordinate with them. We are asking for £2 to sign up to Pride. That's all we're asking for. We're going to pay for everything else out of all the other things Matt spoke about earlier. But we're asking for £2 to secure your wristband for Pride. That will give us some money to go in towards, obviously, Pride preparations and pay for some of our deposit for walking in Pride. We do have to pay for it. But we're going to ask for £2 to sign up, partially because it's a way of making sure people commit to it. So people are like, yeah, I'll take a wristband, and they sign up for free, and then the week before they're like, oh yeah, fuck, I can't do that, sorry. And then we suddenly got like, 3 people walking down the middle of Oxford Street, and like just over the Donkey Kong sort of plushie. So we're asking for £2 to secure your spots. We think is as low as we can possibly make it to still make people actually care about losing £2 somewhat. So yeah, £2, that's all we're asking for. And that'll be if you buy a t-shirt. We'll probably roll that cost into the t-shirt. We're not sure how it's going to work yet. If you want to cosplay, it's just £2 for the wristband. That's Pride.
There's how pumped are you next? So say thank you and then say.
Oh, so thank you for coming and listening and enduring this very, very long presentation. We hope it was really useful. We're going to ask you one last time, how pumped are you right now? How are you feeling about all that? Do you feel, Yeah, that's the best response we could possibly ask for, to be honest, so I'm all about that. Everyone's very excited about our plans for this year. So thank you very much for coming. If you've got any questions, we're going to be here for the rest of the evening. If you want to ask about anything we spoke about, if you want to go through anything in more details, if you want to do, is this a word cloud?
No, this is it's like Reddit, it's like a mini Reddit.
Is it a mini Reddit? Is there a mini Reddit on your phones right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Just type in something funny.
Oh, nice. Hello, it's a show. Being on, this was great, thanks. Semicolon asterisk. Great, lovely. Some valuable feedback from this great guy, thank you.
But this will remain open for the rest of the night.
So we'll leave this up. So you haven't got to fill this in right now. We're going to leave this up for the rest of the night. We've got feedback up here. We've got some whiteboard feedback and post-it feedback in the other room. You can come and speak to us if you've got any queries, questions. Do you want a repeat of anything on here? Then we can do that. This is like an upvote, downvote sort of thing. So that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah. this will stay open even if it's gone off.
Yeah, we'll leave this up. And also.
Yeah, so even though this isn't on the screen later.
Yeah, even if it's not on here, it'll still be on your phone, so you can still get involved on your phone. We've got consoles along this wall. We've got PS4 here. We've got Switch. We've got Switch in this area. A little cozy Switch corner for you Switches. We've got Smash Brothers on the Wii U. We've got board games. We've got table tennis. We've got beer pong. We've got table football. We've got board games everywhere. We're going to have Jackbox games on the big screen. So hang around and play with us. We're not going anywhere until basically we're kicked out or until Chris wants to go home. So thank you for coming, and well, thank you again to everybody who helped out. Thank you to Chris, thank you to Hamish. Thank you. Without you. And yeah, have fun guys, thank you.